Welcome to Creativity, the podcast where art and engineering collide. Today, in addition to my co-host, Pat Regan, we've got a special guest named Chad Dowdell of Chad's Custom Creations. Chad makes a variety of projects, but one thing that's particularly interesting to us is that he bought the same sort of laser that I did a couple of weeks ago. So we're going to talk to him a little bit, talk about what he does, and kind of get maybe some of the finer points of lasering stuff. So Chad, how are you today?
I'm doing really, really well. I'm transitioning into kind of a new workflow. I have two kids who just recently started school face-to-face, so that's a little bit different. But also a new addition to the family, which is a baby that we had just November 3rd. So going through some new stuff, but I'm figuring it out. I'm trying to do some catch up on some work at this point, but I think I'll be all right.
Okay, I thought you were going to say your new addition was the laser, but so you got three actual human children now. Is that correct?
That's
and
correct.
A robot child.
And a robot child.
Well, maybe, yeah. Actually, two robot children in my workshop. I'll tell you about that one as well.
Okay, very good.
I guess I also want to correct you on the laser. I did actually buy it January of this year. So my video uploaded recently, but I have a little bit more experience than probably what I've led on at this point.
Okay, well that's great. You can give us some tips. And Pat, you have worked with the same sort of laser too, except an 80-watt version and in a hackerspace, the lab.
Yeah, it looks identical. It looks identical to the ones you guys have, except there's a sheet metal protuberance off of one side where the longer laser fit in, but otherwise it looks like pretty much identical.
Nice. And it's, I guess, a black and red laser, they call it. Or what? Chad, do you know what actual brand that is? Because I don't even know. I bought it from eBay from some random person in California.
Yeah, so I did the same thing. I bought mine off of eBay. I tried to track down a warehouse that was closest to where I am here in Georgia. I think I found one in Tennessee. There's no branding or anything on it as far as what I see people calling it online. It's just the red and black Chinese laser.
Okay, and you live in Macon, Georgia, correct?
That's correct. So middle Georgia.
Okay.
I know where that is, Chad. I used to live down near Warner Robins for a while.
That's actually where I was born, Warner Robins.
Really?
Yeah, small world.
Get out of here. Yeah.
So where are you guys currently?
Kid, I guess?
Oh. Yeah, airport is not too bad where I am. Every now and then you'll hear military planes flying through, but it's not too bad. I got to ask you guys a question. Where do you both live currently?
Should I go first?
Yeah, sure, Pat.
I'm in Plano, Texas, just outside of Dallas.
A good deal. Awesome.
And yeah, I'm in the Tampa area of Florida, Palm Harbor. So it's pretty good place, I guess. Not bad. I don't know. I don't know what else to say about it.
We're neighbors. You're in Florida. I'm in Georgia. So
yeah.
It's hot in the summertime, and Pat, you got the Texas heat to deal with. So,
but I'm happy we don't. I remember the bugs in the summer in Georgia, all those little gnats flying around all the time when I was outside. I don't miss that.
And this has been a particularly bad year for bugs. They won't die because it won't get cold enough. There's still yellow jackets flying around here trying to attack all the children right now. So it's interesting this year.
Yeah, I guess so. And you got three kids to worry about now. So I guess good luck with that.
Thank you. I'm going to need it.
So now, Chad, you're a former junior high school teacher, right? I guess grade school too. And is it true that now you work for yourself? Is that right?
Yeah, that's absolutely right. So I've taught at a charter school here in Macon, Georgia for about 5 years, and Etsy started to make really big jumps. The income from that started to overtake what I was making as an educator, and I was able to take my kids out of daycare and keep them home with me while I was working here from home. And it worked out really well for me. I was able to leave the education field and go full time as a maker.
Okay. Well, now when you were teaching, I guess basically you shut down your Etsy store to begin with, correct? But then basically somebody came back and said, well, you can probably make a little bit extra money on it. How did that work? So you put your store back up at some point, right? After taking it down, becoming a teacher?
Yeah, that's right. When I first became a teacher, I was 100% into it. So I said to myself, I'm going to go ahead and turn off my Etsy at this point, just so I can focus on the kids. And when I first started, I was teaching about 800 students one time a week. So it was a lot to keep track of. And I thought at that point that just shutting down my secondary income was the right thing to do. But there was a what would I call her? A teacher support at the school who became to know me, and she found out that I used to have an Etsy. And when she heard about it, she said, "Chad, you're doing the wrong thing here. You need to turn that back on. You're an artist. You're an art teacher. You need to show the students that you can make it as an artist. You can turn that back on, supplement your income, and teach at the same time." She said there's no shame in doing that while you're as an educator. There's no shame in doing that as well at the same time. So turned it back on. And then throughout the years, Etsy started to grow exponentially each year, or I guess I should say doubled each year. The first year it was about 5,000, which for me was a pretty chunk of change to have as extra to put back into the shop. And then the next year after that, it doubled to about 12,000. And I was like, okay, we're starting to get into something here. And still at this point, I was still teaching. But then the following year, the year I decided to stop teaching, it doubled once again. And I said to myself, this is the right decision. As much as I enjoyed teaching, I decided I was going to leave teaching, take my kids out of daycare, and be a full-time educator at that point.
So I mean, if your income's going up, like doubling every year, I mean, in a couple of years, 10, 20 years, you'll be a trillionaire, I suppose. So that's really exciting. I guess.
Good for you.
Yeah, good for you. So, in a couple of years, when I ask you for a couple $1 million, you just go ahead. That's cool.
Well, that's the dream, is for it to continue to double. But there is a variable, and that's I'm one employee.
Right.
So what's cool about Etsy is you can kind of throttle your sales. One way that I do it is I'll raise my prices every time I make a sale that I feel like I can't quite squeeze into the budget or squeeze into the workflow. Currently at this point, my prices are so high. If somebody local looked at my website, they'd probably laugh at me. But what's interesting is they've got me into a market on the West Coast over in California. They've got me in New York State, where those prices don't really hit them the same because they have a higher income bracket. And teaming up with shipping companies, getting projects out to them has been no issue for me. Also, Etsy has a very powerful advertising kind of platform on their website where you can say put $3 a day into it, and they'll put you at the top of the search results. So if you've got products that are selling that people might like, those people will see them first. They'll click on them. Of course, those $3 that you put in, every time they click on it, you lose, like, say, a percentage of it, like maybe 25 cents every time someone clicks on it. But if you've got, the right customer seeing stuff, you'll make those sales and you'll make that back. So it's interesting. But I'm not going to become a trillionaire because I love hanging out with my family as well. So I like I said, I throttle it. My prices are high right now because it's the holidays, sales are coming in, but I also want to be able to spend time with my family. So I'm going to remain humble unless I can get enough technology in here to do all the work for me.
Sure. Well, I mean, it's hanging out with your family is cool, but if you wanted to hang out with them on a yacht or something, I guess that's even better, right? So, or a airplane yacht. I guess you could probably have one of those if you had $1 trillion. But anyway, when you say that, you say your little your robot helpers. What kind of robots do you have going on in your shop?
So I started out in 2018 by purchasing the X-Carve. Of course, I'm sure you guys have heard of it. It was very publicized on YouTube. A lot of influencers got them for free. I'm not one of those influencers. I had to pay for mine, and I had to assemble it myself as well, which took probably 13 hours with kids coming into the room and grabbing the parts and running off with them periodically. But with that X-Carve, that probably put me up to the next level on Etsy, because I went from being able to create wooden projects that people found interesting, and now I can personalize them with names, dates. Probably one of my biggest projects or sellers is like wedding guest books. I take pallet wood, I glue them together, and I engrave the dates that they're getting married, and they use those as a guest book where they sign names at the weddings, which 2020 weddings are non-existent. So I've had to pivot and come up with new things, but it's working out.
Well, what's interesting. I went to a wedding in South Carolina. Interestingly enough, that the bride and the groom, they lit like gunpowder in this like custom engraved piece of wood, and like the gunpowder, like it like the flames went around and engraved the wood or something. I was like, that's something you could do with a CNC router. I mean, maybe you even did it yourself. I don't even know, but it was.
I have not done that, but that's got my brain ticking. If I can pour some gunpowder into an engraved piece, I think that would be a lot of fun for sure.
Yeah.
And make for a great video as well.
Lots of maybe a little liability too, but I guess they can supply their own supply your own gunpowder.
Maybe it's time to get that LLC that I need.
Yeah. No, do that. That's some good tax benefits there too.
Oh, good.
Anyway, so you got that. So you got that in 2018, I guess, and then I guess at some point the automation of CNC router wasn't good enough for you, or you got a laser cutter. And Pat asked me about this before because I've got a CNC router, then I got a laser, and he's like, but why, Jeremy?
Yeah, so I did this the other way around, Jeremy, because we had the laser at the makerspace, and I said, well, I definitely don't want that. I need a CNC at home. So I'm really curious how you guys came to this conclusion.
Yeah. So Chad, maybe you can answer that because I didn't have a really good answer. So
yeah. So I started out with the CNC, and it was all I kind of knew at that point until I stumbled onto this company called J-Tech Photonics, or the J-Tech diode laser. And it's this guy who runs a company out of Texas, I believe. And he, I think, creates an Arduino, gets everything working, and supplies a kit that you can put on the X-Carve that's controlled straight through it. You use a software called Lightburn. It works really easy. It's a lot like using easel that I use with the X-Carve. And as soon as I saw that blue laser power on and start burning wood, I was hooked. I said, you know what? You don't have to worry about CNC bits. You just power on the laser, you find out your speed, your power, and you can start etching, engraving. And for me, the laser's quicker because you don't have to worry about fix.
So did you start out with an upgrade for the X-Carve first, or did you? Okay.
I did. I started out, when did I get the J-Tech? 2019, September. I'm looking at my notes here. Had that first, put that on. And then once my customers saw that I had the laser, I started getting larger orders that the diode laser just couldn't quite keep up with. It also is not as good at cutting through material. It's really good for engraving. But I have a realtor who commissioned me to make him a bunch of keychains for his realtor company. And I was able to pull it off with the diode laser, but it was slow and it took a long time. And the cuts didn't always go all the way through. So at the end of 2019, before coronavirus or any of that stuff started to show up, I said, all right, time to put some money into the business. And I bought myself a CO2 laser, which is the 60 watt CO2 Chinese laser that I have sitting right over there.
60 watt.
60 watt.
So like, I actually have a laser that I basically got and almost never used because it was, it just made me very nervous the way some of these things are unprotected. I mean, with the Shapeoko, you don't have any sort of guards or anything. Did that make you nervous? Or...
So I'm probably not the best person to talk to about safety with the laser. With the diode, the danger with the diode laser is actually the brightness of the laser. It's basically like looking at someone using a welder. So you've got special glasses for that you've got to have on at all times. And that made me a little nervous because, I'd be out here using the laser and my kids would pop into the workshop. So that always made me super nervous. Also because my CNC is down low, right where they can see it. So with the CO2 laser even though it's more power, for me, I feel that it's a little safer because it's in an enclosed box. It is a laser that now don't quote me on this because I don't know, but from what I've read, the CO2 is an invisible wavelength. Mm-hmm. So looking directly at the CO2 laser engraving is not going to damage your eye unless it reflects off a material and comes out of the chamber and hits you. That's my understanding. Again, do not quote me. Do not sue me.
Do you want to know the thing that you shouldn't quote me on?
Yes.
A smart guy at our makerspace told us that the CO2 laser's beam cannot penetrate the acrylic or plexi, whatever material that clear sheet is, because you can cut that with the laser.
Yes.
If you can cut it with the laser does not, the beam does not, get through it into your eyes. It would get absorbed.
Yeah, that's what I've heard too. But I'll be honest, that just makes me, an unseen beam that just, you can't see it. It's going everywhere, and it can fry your eyes.
You have
that
2
bothers
eyes,
me
Jeremy.
To no one. Well, yeah, that's true. When I got the red and black laser, I looked at it, and if you look at the top layer of the vent in the front, you can see down into the laser.
Oh, yeah.
With it. So I taped that up. I bought some special laser glasses, which look just like regular safety glasses, and just because I'm extremely paranoid about this. I guess I worked in I guess I came from a different profession too. I guess I write about technology for the most part, but I came from an industrial background, and just the things that can go wrong. It's just when you make thousands and thousands of something over and over, it's just mind blowing. So especially with something you just can't see, that just makes me extremely nervous. So
yeah, I think that the saying goes, better safe than sorry.
That's true.
Honestly.
Yeah.
Or at least just close one eye all the time.
Yeah, close one eye.
And you'll have the other one later.
I think Pat might be a bad influence on you, Jeremy.
Yeah, he probably is. Yeah, we had. Yeah, well, we just brought. Pat's actually a fairly new co-host to this, so I'm hoping I can bring him under rein and start to so we'll behave.
Make me into an adult.
Hoping I can be a good influence to him.
Well, it's always interesting to have somebody that's contrary to what you say as well. So I think Pat's a good compliment for you.
I hope so.
That's true. I think so too. So, yeah. I guess all that being said, I think maybe we should take a little coffee break and maybe come back and discuss some of the more details of your laser. Some of them get in. We kind of seen an overview of your grand life and how you're going to be a trillionaire in a few years. But we'll come back. And
Jeremy, what are you flinging around in your hand there?
Oh yeah, it's a little project I made. So we'll talk about that a little bit more after we come back. Sound good, guys?
I can't wait.
Sounds great.
All right. See ya. Hey, so Jeremy Cook and Pat Regan here with the Creativity Podcast. We're doing our coffee break, quote unquote. Yeah, so thanks so much for listening. If you like what you hear, you can support us on Patreon. That's patreon.com/The Creativity Podcast. Yeah, TCP. We don't have merchandise for sale, but maybe we will at some point in the future. Patronize us. That's cool. If you just want to leave us a comment on YouTube or SoundCloud or
YouTube loves sound. No, YouTube does not love SoundCloud. Oh my goodness.
No, they don't.
No, YouTube loves comments and likes and things, and that helps us out a lot.
Yeah.
So ask us questions or tell us things.
So yeah, we always thank our top 5 Patreons. Today we got 4. We got Brian Moses, Pat Regan, Positive Waves, and Stephen Booker. Thanks so much for supporting us. We really appreciate it. And
very much so.
We'll get you back to your show. Thanks.
Do I just take a drink of coffee?
You can do whatever you want.
All at the same time.
All right, yeah.
Man, that's some good coffee you made, Jeremy. That was fantastic.
Well, mine's lemonade this time, so
Oh, no wonder this tastes a little different.
You drink something and expect it to be like, the coffee, the mocha type taste,
and then it's lemonade. It's
lemony, and a little disappointing.
It was weird. I liked it though. It was good. You did a good job.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah. So I guess before we left, you were asking me about this thing.
I was.
And it's actually it's a cardboard that I got from like an Amazon box or something like that. And I made a what do they call it? A random tree on Inkscape, which basically I think what it does, it takes like a seed and then it
it's a fractal.
Basically it's a fractal, maybe. Exactly. So it's a fractal. I made it. I printed out. I cut it out in the laser and looks kind of cool. It's amazing. It's amazing how much stuff you can make out of cardboard when you've got a laser cutter / engraver. So
it's fantastic prototyping material because you always have some. Yeah, you should get that dialed in. for cutting cardboard because you can have all the cardboard in my garage. There's probably 100 Amazon boxes.
Thank you. If I ever make it to Texas, we'll
load it into your bicycle.
Load it into. I guess I've been to Houston one time and then I went to Mexico, but on the airplane. So
yep.
I've seen the airport there. It's a beautiful place. But Pat, you were showing me something. You have something too to show off.
I do. I think this is the neatest little thing. This is my face. This is for my spinning head animated GIF because that was the only picture that I guess he could find. One of my friends at the Makerspace, he's into leather working, and this is a little piece of the leather that he uses with my face cut and engraved on the leather. It smells like bacon when they're making this, kind of. It's not quite, but it's like bacon, but it's not. It's not bacon, but you're confused.
Sure.
You don't understand what it is. We told people no cutting leather unless nobody's present, because
unless nobody's hungry, unless you have snacks for everybody.
Well, and the smell, even with the ventilate, we have the same kind of ventilation that Chad has, the same motor, the same going up through the ceiling, and you can still smell just when you take this out of the machine, it has for weeks this had an aroma.
Okay. Well, Chad, speaking of laser snacks, have you ever done anything crazy
I never thought to eat this, Jeremy. You're a bad influence.
Well, I sometimes feel like a kid in the workshop, and when I first, even with the diode laser, when it first powered on, I was just enthralled with putting as many things under the laser and seeing what I could cut, what I could burn, as many things as possible. And it wasn't too long ago, I had the idea or somebody complained to me. They said, it was my kids. They said, I want the biggest piece of the pizza. And I was like, well, what if every single piece of the pizza was cut the exact same size with a laser? So I took that pizza, I threw it on my laser, and I made a little grid, 45-degree angles, 8 perfectly spaced out pieces, traced it out, made sure it was right in the middle, and it tried to engrave that pizza. Sadly, with my 60-watt laser at 100% power, moving quite slow, it still didn't quite cut all the way through. But some things that I did get from that was a perfectly engraved pizza with the shape, but it also smelled like, how did I describe this? Burning hair on a dead corpse's body.
That doesn't sound very good.
I can believe
not at all.
So pizza was one of the first things we cut, and we did a bad. We didn't even have we didn't even know how to work the software yet. We were just jogging it with the arrow keys, and we did a very bad. It did. I understand the smell though.
The smell.
Yeah.
Can I ask?
Like an oven, you got to preheat the laser.
It might be something like that. I don't know, Pat, you didn't have anyone in your shop that put the sliced pizza or cooked it and then tasted it, did you?
No, no one did that. It was we did a bad job. We didn't have we had pizza from the night before, from our little party the night before. We said, well, let's see what happens if we put that in there. And
so it was probably spoiled either way.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to eat it. Yeah,
so it was pre-spoiled pizza.
Speaking from experience, after I sliced it and cooked it, I put a piece in my mouth and I chewed on it and instantly regretted it, because there's something about vaporizing biomaterial on a pizza. It smelled like the burnt hair, but it also tasted like burnt hair. It was instantaneous, the worst thing that I've ever tasted in my entire life. And I've tasted a lot of things.
Well, all right. That's glad to hear it.
I have lots of inappropriate jokes I can make, but Jeremy says I'm not allowed to do that on the podcast. So I'm just giggling and thinking these things in my head.
Yeah, you can fill in your own caption to this or whatever.
Yeah, just Mad Lib this part of the
Mad Lib this part. Which big fan of Mad Libs, by the way.
It's good stuff.
It's been a while, but all right. So Chad, you keep on saying giving quotes around your 60-watt laser. What do you mean by that?
Yeah, so they sell these lasers as a specific wattage, and when you see them on eBay, the one that I bought is considered a 60-watt laser. But Jeremy, you actually got me going into it a little bit more. Measured the tube on the backside of it, did a little research, and based on thinklaser.com, their estimates here, or what they say, is what I have is actually a 50-watt laser based on the measurements of the tube that was sold to me. So it's 10 watts less than what I thought I was getting. So it's a little disappointing.
But it works. It does the job.
But it works.
Right. Okay. Well,
but maybe if I had an actual 60-watt laser, maybe I could have cut that pizza.
80 watts didn't do it. And not that ours was actually 80 watts. I'm sure it's the same cheating.
You mean 60 watts?
Yeah, maybe we had 60 or 65.
I had the 65.
Which there are some things I want to do to the laser that I've seen people have good success with. Upgrading the air. So currently the air assist is just like a tiny little pump that just kind of hums. I've seen where people hitch them up to compressors and try to get like 30 PSI going through that nozzle, which helps to aid the cut. And the second thing I want to do
don't blow your parts around in there, though. Don't use so much air that you'll need to tie your parts down like a CNC if you go too high.
That's true.
So have you done much to your laser? I mean, I guess let me ask you this: you bought it off eBay. You got it. Did it pretty much work out of the box, or was there anything you had to do to get it running?
Yeah. So when I first bought it, the only things that I had to do, well, actually, there was one scary thing. When I first powered it on, it was trying to home itself. Went over to the left corner, and just stopped moving on the x-axis. So I would try to jog it to the left or to the right, and the laser head would just go back and forth and wouldn't move. So I was like, great, this is kind of what I expected. $2,000 for a piece of equipment that size. I kind of expected to have some problems, so I was prepared. Asked for some help on Facebook laser forums, sent a video in, and some people said, check your wiring. There's probably something loose. So I opened up the panel on the right side, traced all the wires, and found that one of the flathead screws that hold the wire in place had backed up and loosened itself. And that one loose connection caused the entire laser to not work. But don't give up if you have the same issue. Try to look in there, because it can be a really simple fix, just like mine had.
Okay.
Another thing that my laser had an issue was the water tubing. With a CO2 laser, you have to keep the tube cool. You want to keep it in a specific range to preserve the life of the laser tube. And the tubes just kind of pressure fit on there. And that's what I did. I just pressure fitted everything, and a few days later, I found out that there was a leak. So the water was kind of leaking inside the laser, luckily not on the electronics, but kind of in the back area. My solution for that was taking some zip ties and just tightening all those connections. And so far, still good there.
I may have to do that. I haven't tried that, but that seems like a possible point of failure.
Yeah, absolutely. And even on the inside, you might have a flow sensor on your laser. If you don't have the water pump on, your laser might give you a warning, which is a good feature to have.
Oh yeah.
At that sensor, there's some kind of connections that I needed to tighten up as well, right in there. And continuing on with the water, it's such a crucial thing. With the stock pump that you get, it has no sense of cooling the water itself. So if you ran like some deep engravings for like 20 minutes, your water would slowly start to heat up and get to a point where it's not safe or good for the laser tube to continue working. So my solution at that point, which was January in Georgia in my workshop, it was already cold enough to kind of continue working. But when summertime, 100-degree weather outside, my solution was frozen water bottles, throwing them into my 5-gallon bucket to cool it down. Well, that works for small jobs, but when you get larger jobs that you got to do where you got to run your laser for, say, 16 hours straight,
that's a big job.
You will not have enough. Uh-oh, my computer's about to die.
Uh-oh.
That's why you stopped moving.
Yeah. Well, I guess it's maybe just you and me for a minute, Pat.
It might be.
Yeah, I guess. So So how are you doing?
I'm doing all right. I remember one of our smart guys at the Makerspace figured out that, the power range, from 0 to 100% power on your 60-watt laser, supposed 60-watt laser, it kind of peters out. So, it's not a straight line, it's a curve. You
Right.
get like 80% of your, I don't know the numbers, I don't remember the numbers. It's like you get 80% of your power somewhere around 50%. And that whole last half is basically just little tiny. And he suggested we always run it below a certain point on that curve, because all you're doing is pumping more heat.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully he'll be on.
I hope
eventually.
so.
Yeah, but no, that's one thing we were going to talk about. Like with with my laser when I got it, one of the upgrades a lot of people suggest is putting an ammeter on it.
There he is.
Hey, how you doing?
Sorry.
No, that's all right. You posed in a nice, or a nice, you're just like smiling when you left. So, we were just talking a little bit. Did you put a ammeter on your laser to measure the current?
Yes, I did. So analog amp meter on the front casing, wired that in there just because something else that I read is you want to keep that specific tube at a certain wattage to help preserve the life of the tube as well. So
Right.
I found that about 75% power coming from my power supply will keep me in a kind of safe range. Now that's going to be different.
What is that safe range for you for a current rating?
I'm keeping mine below about 20 milliamps.
20 milliamps. Okay, that seems like what I've heard. I actually put an ammeter on mine as well. Just drilled through it. You basically take the negative side of the tube and then where it goes back to ground. Correct? Is that where you measure it?
That's where I did mine as well. Yes.
It's when I was doing this, I was reading something about there being some potential for some like very high voltage if you get a short or not short. If you got a broken connection there, is that, have you heard anything about that or not?
I know the wire that goes into the tube has to be siliconed in, a very strong connection, because if you don't have a good connection, I've heard of that high voltage actually arcing in the backside of your tube and causing damage to it.
Like a television.
Yeah.
So an old a CRT, not like this one back here behind me.
So far, no arcing on mine, fingers crossed.
Okay.
And I'm kind of embarrassed to say that I've only used, those spinny wire clamps that you can use for like home electrical stuff.
Right. Yeah, it's
But you guys said 20 milliamps? Is that what I heard? Did I really hear that? That's got to be a huge That's got to be a huge voltage to get up to 50 or 60 watts at 20 milliamps.
I guess you're right, because 20 milliamps. I mean, I can't do the math in my head, but yeah. Actually, if you guys want to talk amongst yourselves, I'll work that out.
Are you doing that on paper?
Yeah, no. Let's see. It's 20 milliamps. So what's it? 20 milliamps. So 60 watts. 60 watts divided by, or would it be times?
Math.
Talking to a former art educator, so I can't help you.
0.02. Yeah, my teacher was. It's about 3,000 volts if I'm doing the math right.
I believe that.
Yeah, my wife's
that.
Yeah.
It's a little bit more terrifying than I imagined.
Yeah, so I guess the idea is, I guess the thing is with electronics, you've got a voltage divider, and I guess the thing is the positive is very heavy, but you notice the negative coming out is fairly standard wire. So I'm wondering if, I don't know, if maybe the voltage coming out isn't as dangerous. Again, like you said, don't quote me on this, but it's just something that's crossed my mind a little bit. So
there's a reason they keep this in that big metal enclosure, Jeremy.
Right. And that's one thing that I did. I independently grounded the back of it to a pipe. And another thing, I don't know if you did this or not, Chad, but there's no interlock on it. If you take the door up, it keeps lazing. So
geez, ours had a button. Ours had a switch, a lid switch.
Yeah. Well, you paid extra for that.
Yeah.
Well, there's no safety there.
I'll tell you what. That's one thing. I don't know. I guess we'll talk about that in the progress section. But that's just one of the things I've been working on, getting my laser up to where I consider safe. But basically, I put a micro switch on it. and wired it into the Ruida controller. And in fact, Lightburn has something you can actually turn on a sensor on it. So basically, it was, it wasn't, if you know what you're looking for, it's not too bad. But I will say this though, there's no way a micro switch is safety rated. So if I was doing this in like, natural industrial environment, and OSHA came and said, oh, that's not enough to like bet your life on, I'd say absolutely not. But how can I guess in my head, it is safer than it was before. And if you say, okay, this is not safe, you need to turn that off. But I don't know. You get what I'm saying here. It's still not proper, but it's much more proper than it was before.
Well, Jeremy, I got to compliment you because it's more than I've done. I mean, I can lift up my lid and move things around while it's lasering, but I don't know if you guys know Jimmy DeResta. He had an interlock switch on his laser.
Oh,
Guess
nice.
what he decided to do on his?
Take it off.
Bypass it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And we talked about the laser beam being invisible, and we know the laser is coming off the mirrors from the left side. Well, he ran his finger through the laser beam.
Yeah, I hadn't seen that. That's
lucky for him. The laser at that point's not focused down to the smallest point, so he's getting probably a 1/4 inch burn or something like that. Thankfully, it's not as focused, but you could really still hurt yourself playing around with that.
Yeah, no, I guess so.
My CNC doesn't have a cover. I just know don't put my finger on the router. Don't grab it. Don't, it's bad.
Thankfully, it's visible though, so
it is.
You know what you're dealing with.
It's true.
Yeah, no, that's true. That's the thing. I mean, I've got a CNC router too, but I know where it is. I know that if the router bit's over here.
Oh yeah, the beam on the mirrors. I'm forgetting about that. You could touch it anywhere.
Oh yeah, that's true.
That was a fantastic face, Jeremy. So, like, oh my God, not just where you expect it to be. It could be all over the place in there.
No, and that's what makes me so paranoid about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, basically before I started really using it, there was about 2 weeks of me just like looking at the machinery and stuff and whatever. And again, I come from a manufacturing background, and to me, I opened this case up and I'm like, oh, this is like a language I haven't spoken in several years, and now I'm back home, I guess. I don't know. So I guess with this kind of thing, Chad, I don't know if you'd agree or not, but it's a fantastic tool, but be prepared to, if you're not a technical person whatsoever, or have at least some background or willingness to learn, I'd say you need to pay more and get something by Epilogue or a Boss or something, or Glowforge for that matter.
Yeah, I agree with that for sure. Sorry, I think a bug just flied into my throat.
Oh no!
Probably one of those wasps that you're protecting your children from.
Yeah, and with like the Glowforge, you're paying, I don't know, is it 6,000 for the like pro model or something like that? Which
it's a lot of money.
Works for some people, but I've got some friends who got it, and they're watching videos of me run my laser on Instagram, and they're kicking themselves in the butt for not getting it because there's some things in their software that I don't know if the Glowforge can't run on Lightburn or not, but it seems like their dedicated software is a little bit limiting compared to.
But it does do
some
neat things. I don't know if it's $4,000 worth of neat things, but like it has sensors in there to figure out where the thing you put in the Glowforge, where it is. So if you want to engrave on the center of a MacBook, you put the MacBook in there and it finds it. You don't have to figure, don't quote me on this part, but I'm under the impression that it understands the curve of the MacBook's it can read that somehow. And does it I don't know that it does, but I heard.
I don't know.
This is 3-year-old memory. I've slept since then. We never know if it's right, but
generally speaking, I'd say don't quote us on anything that you're on the show.
This is true.
That would be a really great feature, like height sensing.
Yeah.
I don't know if the Glowforge has that or not, but a lot of the stuff I do is pallet wood, and you've got different heights throughout the engraving. So something like that would be really awesome to have. The other thing you're referencing with the Glowforge is it has a camera built on the inside, so you can see the workspace on there.
Yeah.
But just last week, I took a webcam that I had from like 10 years ago, and I taped it to the inside of my laser, and Lightburn has the same capability. So a $20 camera. I'm now able to visualize my workspace just by clicking a button, and I can move things around and line it up just right. So really easy upgrade.
Do you have that built into the Rita software, or not Rita, the Lightburn software? Because I've got my here's another upgrade I did to my machine, or not upgrade, but basically it's got an Ethernet port, so I can take my computer anywhere, and it pumps I control it via the Wi-Fi, and I've got it hardwired into Ethernet that I had run out to the garage. It's pretty awesome. But the thing is, the Lightburn software, you could put a webcam on it, like you were saying, but you can't put an IP cam and have it interface with the software without without magic. I don't know. Are you using a IP camera or using the actual webcam?
So I've actually got both in there. Again, don't do as I do. I have a webcam on the inside, kind of off to the side, so I can monitor it from inside the house if I'm going to take care of the kids or something like that. Make sure nothing's catching on fire. Which, Jeremy, I don't mean to scare you, but don't Google CO2 laser fires. You won't like what you see.
Okay.
I assume you guys have a fire extinguisher next to the...
I do, actually.
Yes, I do as well. So,
although I haven't tested the fire extinguisher, I guess it's like...
Well, once you test it, it's done. Then you need to get a new one so that you know that...
Well, that's the thing. I just think like, well, something on fire. I got a fire extinguisher, but I haven't tried this fire extinguisher out. So let me just read the directions and yada yada yada. And
let me Google how to pull the pin on this thing.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I assume it's not too hard, but maybe it is. I don't know.
But to answer your question, yeah, there's two cameras in there. So there's one that plugs into the computer and one that's just an IP camera that I can access from my phone.
Okay.
When I got kicked out earlier, I was trying to lead up to the cooling system. Jeremy, did you have a chance to talk about the separate chiller? Did you get a chiller for your machine?
Oh,
as well?
No, I haven't gotten a chiller.
Okay.
I'm not that chill.
Well, I guess I'll talk about that real quick because it might help some people. If you live in a hot climate like me, again, this garage can get up to like 90 degrees, which if your water is already 90 degrees, you can't use it. And it doesn't matter how many frozen bottles of water you put in there, you're not going to be able to get it down to temperature. There's a lot of talk of the SNA industrial chiller, or maybe not industrial. Oh, it actually says that on the side of it. I just looked at it. It says industrial chiller. Like
I have to remember to put that on all my products. Industrial.
Yes.
Just put it on there.
So it actually has a compressor on the inside that cools down like a refrigerator would, and it pumps the water through. That upgrade was about $600, but it was worth it for me because, again, there will be days where I'll do 16 hours of straight laser engraving, and that would only be possible because of that chiller there. If I didn't have it, I'd have to stop probably every hour and get that water to cool down by itself.
Okay, well, that's good to know.
So,
I guess another thing I've been curious about, I've done pretty much cardboard and stuff so far. Again, I'm very new in the process, but what's the thickest material you've been able to cut so far with your laser?
So material's interesting that I was actually able to get through 3/4 of an inch hardwood by getting it to the right speed and enough passes I was able to get through. And that's with the stock lens as well, which is something else I want to upgrade. Is you can buy different lenses that have different focal lengths. And the focal length on the stock laser is kind of shaped like an hourglass. So it comes out kind of like that and spreads back out. So your best cutting area is in the center. That's your focal point there. But they have lenses that have a taller hourglass shape. So that line in the center is actually longer. So it makes for better cuts on thicker materials, which, again, something I want to upgrade on mine, but I haven't done yet.
How much is a lens upgrade?
I think like $30.
Oh,
it's not much at all.
Do it.
Oh,
yeah.
nice.
Yeah,
no,
we were noticing that cutting thicker materials, that
you start to see
the depth of focus is not terribly deep.
And another trick that people can do is when you set your laser, you have a set focal length. Instead of putting your focal length on the top of the material, measure it down to where your focal length is actually in the center of your material. That'll give you a better chance of cutting all the way through as well.
And that's based on that little plastic piece they give you, right?
Yeah,
so that basically shows you the focus point. You dial it down to that, correct? So you're saying actually put this do like that and then make it go up a little bit more.
Yeah, I kind of eyeball it on the side and I measure it down a little bit further. But Jeremy, something that I recently found out is the stocks, I think mine's 7 millimeters or something like that from the bottom of the nozzle, is actually not my sharpest focal point. So you can do something called a ramp test where you have a piece of material on your laser bed that's kind of up like this, and you just have it draw a straight line, engrave a straight line, and you'll find the skinniest part of that laser is actually your focal point. So you might find that yours is not quite stock is what they're sending you.
He's writing that down, Chad. He's making a note.
I am ramp test.
Yeah, ramp test. You can YouTube that.
That means I might actually do it. So.
Yeah. I'm waiting to see this video, Jeremy. Are you going to publish a video of doing the ramp test? That would be good content.
Well, maybe I should. Thank you, Pat. I've got this video. I've got like basically my whole like laser setup deal, like like the stuff I've done, the ammeter and the not real safety latch on it. I hate to even call it that. It's like again, I should be using a lid switch.
Yeah.
But, it's like you should be using a like industrial rated whatever, yada yada yada. But on the other hand, I don't necessarily trust the enclosure as being what did they say, class 1 enclosure or something like that. So who's to?
Do I even trust that the laser will shut itself off when the software tells it to?
That seems to work pretty well. But you're right. I mean, but who's to say?
Oh, speaking of I can't say the word Ruida controller. Something that blew me away is if you have a power surge when you're doing an engraving, like let's say I was doing a 3-hour engraving and I used my chop saw and I shut off the breaker on the entire thing, everything shuts down. What's cool about the controller is when you get the power back on, it asks you if you want to continue and you can hit enter and it goes to the exact spot that it stopped engraving.
That's awesome.
That's awesome. Are you
that is something that the X-Carve cannot do, and it really needs.
Are you using Ethernet or using USB to your?
I'm using USB on mine.
Okay. By the way, I haven't looked this up, and I probably should. But Ruida, is that the word for like the sword that they gave Roman slaves when they became freed? Isn't that like freedom to laser what you want? I haven't looked this up, but I think that was like.
Sounds good to me.
I'm going to believe you. That sounds plausible.
Okay. I don't know. I just seems like that just popped into my head sometime. Ruida. Maybe I should actually look that up.
I told you guys to not get me talking about lasers because I can nerd out about the laser all day long.
Well, I'm happy about that. That's fine.
I know we were talking about the focal point earlier and getting your most focused point for cutting. But think about this, Jeremy. If you're doing an engraving and it says it's going to take 13 hours to engrave, do this instead. Put it out of focus and change the interval on Lightburn so that the interval for every pass or raster is spaced out further. So you're actually not using the finest beam you could produce, but using a thicker beam. So that's a trick that I do all the time for speeding up productions, like a cutting board that somebody wants. Instead of spending 5 hours engraving the tiniest line, I put it out of focus, I get a bigger beam, and I bump up the interval on Lightburn to speed it up to say 30 minutes.
You're changing your end mill, but you don't have an end mill.
Okay.
Exactly. That's exactly right.
You said you're making it closer or farther away and you change the speed.
That's right.
And I looked it up. It's called the Rudis. So I guess maybe that's the Sword of Freedom. So yeah, that kind of, anyway. I was just thinking like, maybe I shouldn't, I don't know. Maybe
leave a comment and tell Jeremy whether he's correct or incorrect.
I think they'll do that automatically.
Yeah.
It is going on YouTube, right?
Yeah. Everybody is very polite on YouTube. So
yes, they are. But Jeremy, I think you're being smart doing laser videos. I never expected my laser video to kick off, but it seems to be the only one on my channel that works. I think it's about to hit 20,000 views, which for me is insane because most of my views, 100 or so. So
that's great. Yeah, no, it's I don't know if I said this to begin with, but yeah, you certainly influenced me to buy that laser. I mean, I was looking at a laser and was like, do I want to get the little bit smaller one or that one or anyway, so
he didn't even ask me, Chad. I've had a laser like yours for 3 years, and no, he never even mentions it until it shows up.
I didn't even know you had a a laser like this.
I know, right?
And technically it's at the lab.ms, which I finally figured out that stands for makerspace.
Makers, good job. Good
Yeah,
job.
thank you. I was like, what? It's like I don't know. I guess there's other things that could happen. Like sure it could stand for whatever, but it stands for makerspace.
When you guys ordered yours, is this still a thing now 3 years later where you could order it direct from China, or you could order it from somebody who already imported it into California for a few $100 more?
Yes. I
imagine you guys got them from California.
I ordered it from a Californian who somehow seemed to like answer me based on like the Chinese.
Uh-oh.
It seemed like when he would answer my emails more like when it was like 3 a.m. here. So, maybe he was a Californian in name only.
We probably all paid extra for something that we didn't actually get. Yeah, I always heard, don't order it from China, straight from China, because the tube might get busted on the ride over. I don't know. I don't remember. It's been 3 years since we did this, so I don't remember it well enough.
It'd be like a Weird Al song, straight out of China, straight out of China.
Yeah, I always picture these things on a boat, but very few things actually come on a boat. I
mean, you think they probably came in a boat at some point, right?
Yeah, well, it's so big. All the small stuff we order comes on a plane. Anything,
So, I mean, you're not going to send the plane. You're not going to send the jet for the laser cutter.
It seems silly.
Like, oh, pick up my laser cutter. Yeah.
Which I don't know if I would recommend getting it directly from China, at least at this point, because you may end up having to pay like tariffs or customs that you don't know about until it starts making its way over. So just be careful with that as far as what I know. But
it's a good gamble. Sometimes you might not have to pay any.
That's true.
You never know. That's the thing.
Depends on what's on that shipping container, I guess.
Yeah. Or if they even look at it.
So surprisingly, I bought my laser. It said it was like secondhand or something, and it shows up, and it's like it's obviously packaged just from the factory. I don't really know what the deal with this was, but it worked perfectly, and I don't know. So I don't know why it was returned or whatever it was to begin with. But anyways, sounds like both of us had pretty good experiences. I'm sure some people have terrible experiences, but
yeah, one loose wire after 6,000 miles of travel. I'm okay with that. I expected it.
So as far as like business and stuff, I mean, you're happy you bought your laser, I assume.
Yes, the laser has taken my humble business and opened up so many doors for people. I mean, I could really probably be throttling my business really hard with Christmas ornaments and gifts like that right now. I've kind of got a backlog because the new child recently kind of put me a month back. So I'm not throttling projects or anything like that. But if you have a laser, a lot of us joke, it's kind of like having a money printing machine. If you know how to market yourself, when people see the videos that I post of like the high speed showing the laser engraving on something, they get ideas. They'll start contacting you. Hey, I've got this cutting board. Can you put our name on it? All that kind of stuff. And
right.
I would buy another laser if I had room for it now. Because
laser cutter.
That was what I was just going to ask. When is the next laser showing up? What's the next one? Is it going to be a bigger one or a smaller one or a same one or a?
For me, the laser size that I have, which is 19 inches by 27, something like that, works out great. All my projects seem to fit in there because I'm shipping stuff. Most of the stuff that I send need to be that size. But I've got more local projects where the CNC is actually too small for me now at this point. Mm-hmm. I'm doing like subdivision signs and I'm having to do like stacked cuts or multiple pieces. And it's driving me insane. So I really would love to get like an Avid CNC that's like 4 foot by 8 foot. I would love to just throw a huge piece on there. So CNC is probably going to be upgraded next if I can get some more room because I'm just in a 2-car garage right now.
Have you seen the Maslow CNC?
Yes, I have. It's a very interesting concept. It's huge.
It's too bad it's not terribly accurate, but yeah, I could fit that in my garage. I really would like to be able to cut 4x8 sheets, and that would not take up a lot of room.
Definitely.
Well, what about that handheld router that has like the compensation on it? Have you guys seen that?
The Shaper Origin.
Yep.
Yeah. Those look pretty.
But you have to do it. You know, you have to. I mean, I like the robot that you tell it. You do the work. You put that 4x8 sheet up on the wall in that Maslow, and you hit go, and you come back later, and maybe it worked.
Nice.
Yeah, I think each machine has different applications. I think the Shaper Origin would be great for a contractor that's probably going on site, and they have a dining table or something that they want engraved or something cut on site.
I've seen people do it on the floor.
Absolutely.
There's a famous one where it's like a musical, like what do you get? The sheet music, just one set of sheet music kind of in a swirly kind of wavy pattern with notes on it and stuff. You can't do that any other way. Well, manually, I guess, but I don't want to do that.
Yeah, nobody wants to do that. Well, that being said, I mean, I think I guess we could move on to we'll talk about what we've been working on. What if you guys like?
Sure.
Yeah, I just so I guess that being said, what have you been working on, Chad? What's your latest project?
So my latest project is just catching up. Again, I was kind of out of the workshop for like 2 to 3 weeks. We spent more time in the hospital than we normally would because the most recent child was only 34 weeks old. So it was a little bit scary. The wife was definitely in bad health at that point. She was considered high risk. So I haven't been spending as much time out here as normal.
And
so,
all the hornets, right?
Yes, all the killer yellow jackets in Georgia are crazy. So just working on a backlog of projects on Etsy, but I've got to hand it to my customers on Etsy. They're the most understanding people ever. If I ever get to a deadline, I can send them a message and just let them know what's going on. And I've never had anyone say, well, I want my money back or anything like that. When they found out my situation, they said, take your time, enjoy your family. We'll get your pieces when we get them. But specifically, I'm doing a sign for a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu studio in California. Let me grab it. It's right back here.
Capoeira. Is that Capoeira?
Capoeira? I'm not sure.
I'm not sure either.
Redondo Beach, California.
Oh, that's fantastic.
That's pretty rad.
Does that fit on your X-Carve?
They went for 30 inches. So I've got 31 inches on the X-Carve. So this was able to be done in one cut.
Fantastic.
But still some work to be done on that.
Pat, I know you've seen just about every TV show, right? Did you see that Bob's Burgers episode where they
yes,
where they start where they keep trying to get the new belt, like the new Bolsero. Right.
Anyway, well, that's where I got Capoeira from. It's from Bob's Burgers. There's an episode where
it's like the girl,
some kind of South American jiu-jitsu.
He tries to fight the jiu-jitsu guy, and he just keeps sweep kicking him and dancing. And
yes,
stuff.
Yeah. I'm almost positive that's Brazilian jiu-jitsu that they're talking about, but I'm totally unprepared. I didn't research this beforehand. I did not know Chad was going to mention this. So,
yeah. Well, so what about you, Pat? Besides watching Bob's Burgers and such.
Well, last time I screwed up and didn't have power to show you guys this, but this is our project here. Oh God, that's bright. This is look at how bright that is. I don't know I can't adjust that. This is we'll cover this one up. This is these are little RGB LEDs. This is called the Uber lights with 2 O's. This is going to go in a computer case where like a CD-ROM drive would go. This is sized to fit in a CD-ROM drive, and the idea would be you put this in your server, so it would show you like you'd light up rings to show disk utilization, or you'd spin a thing like this to show network throughput or something like that.
Nice.
The new ones have 3, Jeremy, so I'm going to have to send you one of these so you can make it. You can use this for eyes on one of your robots.
Okay. Yeah, I'd love to.
That's really cool.
But we're excited. We just got to the point where you can actually update this over the network. This has a little Wi-Fi guy on the back, so nice. You can. That's my progress on that, and I didn't do any of it. My friend is doing the software, so
Pat's been working on this project for about a year or two, right?
Feels like it. Yeah.
I feel like it's going to be the former co-host Max Maker, who we're still friends, but he's been working on this electric surfboard for 3 or 4 years. So I think it's going to have to be a challenge between you, Pat, and him to see who gets their project done. done first.
This year really screwed us up. There were a lot of setbacks on account of just how things have been this year. And we finally were ready to send out for a prototype, and that was right when China shut down for 2 months when the coronavirus started. I was like, oh, great. Now we have to everything got set back. And it slows everything down now too.
No, I agree. So yeah, I guess that's for me. I've been working that laser cutter, trying to get that set up. So I'll do a video on that. I'm looking forward to that. Of course, all the writing and stuff that I have to do to keep food on the table and my mortgage paid and such. So yeah, but listen, Chad, where can we find you if we want to buy signs? If we want to, in a few months or so when you have time for it.
Sure. I guess if people are looking for client work, you can find me at chadscustomcreations.com. But if you want to just see what I'm doing in the shop, the best place to find me is on Instagram, and you just search for Chad's Custom Creations on there. It's kind of a cheesy name, but it's got the alliteration. If you hear that name, you won't forget it. So
yeah, I agree.
You've done a good job.
You could tell you have an educational background, using words like alliteration and stuff. So.
It's good to hear that, because I'm still paying for my education, sadly.
Well, hey, it's that's good, I guess. All right, no, it's not good. I don't know. Good for you for
having an education.
For having an education.
Too. That's important.
Yes. Pat, you're still paying for your education.
No,
right?
Mine's been paid for a long time, but I only have 3 credits. So it's not much. It's okay though. It was fine. I have no complaints.
I would say you made the right choice. And
I'm very happy with how things worked out.
Absolutely.
Well, where can we find you, Pat?
Where do we find me? Well, I'm at patshead.com. There's a little spinning head. And I'm on Twitter.
Yeah.
I'm on Instagram now. I'm not very good at it, but I'm learning. Yeah.
I just want to say thank you for having me on here, Jeremy. It's pretty cool that you found me on YouTube. Again, like I said, I don't have a huge following over there, but the fact that you saw my laser unboxing setup video and it influenced you to go buy yourself a laser.
Jeremy's been laser focused lately on one particular subject, Chad. It's
I have the same thing happening to me, and I think that's a skill that you probably should dive into, because it can lead to great things. So I hope your laser brings you a lot of good luck, and be safe with it, which I know you will be. Stay away from PVC. Don't laser vinyl or anything like that.
So I hear. I will.
Yeah, but I wish you the best luck with it. And if you ever have any questions, there is an amateur who has had the laser for a year that you can always reach out to.
Oh, well, I really appreciate that. So, thanks for coming on the show. And
it was good talking to you, Chad.
Good talking to you guys as well. It's nice to meet you.
Thank you.
Yeah, take it easy.